Title: The Woman Who Never Opened the Last Letter. Have you ever kept something? Not because it was valuable, but because opening it might change your life forever? Sometimes, the greatest fear isn't losing someone, it's discovering that you've already lost yourself. This is the story of Sarah Williams. She was 48 years old. She lived in a quiet town outside Portland. Her neighbors believed she had a peaceful life. Every morning, she watered the flowers. She smiled politely. She went to work. She returned home before sunset. Everything looked normal, but behind her front door, silence had become her closest companion. 3 years earlier, Sarah had lost her husband, Daniel. Since that day, she stopped celebrating birthdays. She stopped playing music. She even stopped cooking the meals they once shared together. Every evening, she sat beside the same window, holding a single unopened letter. Daniel had written it just a few days before he passed away. She never had the courage to read it, because as long as it remained unopened, a small part of him still felt close. One autumn afternoon, Sarah visited a small bookstore. While searching through old novels, an elderly woman smiled at her. "You look like someone waiting for yesterday." Sarah forced a smile. "I'm just looking around." The woman gently replied, "No, you're looking for permission to move forward." Those words stayed with Sarah all day. That evening, she placed the unopened letter on the kitchen table. For nearly an hour, she simply looked at it. Her hands trembled. Her heart raced. She whispered, "What if reading this is the last time I ever feel close to you?" The room remained silent. Outside, the rain slowly began to fall. Sarah closed her eyes, took one deep breath, and finally, she reached for the envelope. Sarah slowly opened the envelope. Inside, there was only one page, no long speech, no complicated words. Daniel had written, "If you're reading this, it means life has continued without me. Please don't let my absence become the reason you stop living. Promise me something. Smile again. Travel somewhere we've never been. Meet new people. And never feel guilty for finding happiness again. Because loving me was never supposed to become a prison." Tears rolled down Sarah's face. For years, she believed holding on meant refusing to move forward. Now she understood. Real love never asked someone to stop living. The following morning, she opened every curtain in the house. Sunlight filled rooms that had been dark for years. She turned on music, made herself breakfast. Then she picked up her coat. Not because life had suddenly become easy, but because she was finally ready to take the first step forward. Sometimes, healing doesn't begin with a miracle. It begins with one small decision, one deep breath, one open door. A few months later, Sarah's home no longer felt silent. Soft music filled the rooms again. Fresh flowers rested beside the window. The curtains stayed open. Morning sunlight returned to places that had once been covered by darkness. One afternoon, a young woman entered the bookstore. She looked exhausted, lost, almost hopeless. Sarah recognized that expression immediately, because years ago, she had seen the same face every time she looked into a mirror. The young woman quietly asked, "Does life ever feel normal again after losing someone you love?" Sarah smiled gently. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she handed the coffee. Part 4. A few months later, Sarah's home no longer felt silent. Soft music filled the rooms again. Fresh flowers rested beside the window. The curtains stayed open. Morning sunlight returned to places that had once been covered by darkness. One afternoon, a young woman entered the bookstore. She looked exhausted, lost, almost hopeless. Sarah recognized that expression immediately because years ago, she had seen the same face